Hello, Jacksonites, and welcome to my final little footstep back into the Tremors franchise, probably for a very long time, with a re-review of the seventh film, but eighth installment in the Tremors franchise, and seemingly, at least for now, the final installment, that being 2020's Tremors Shrieker Island. Originally entitled Tremors Island Fury, before switching the title to Tremors Shrieker Island. This movie, when it was announced, I was insanely excited, even though my kind of negative feelings for part six were pretty firmly cemented at this point. I was still very excited to see this movie, because you know me, I'm always thinking Tremors. When I found out the plot synopsis about this, oh, okay, this sounds cool. Graboids and Shriekers on a tropical island. That sounds like a really cool concept. Um, I was for a long while a part of a big Tremors fan group Facebook page, and of course, I was following the production of the film when Michael Gross said, "Hey guys, doing Tremors 7 on my way to Thailand." I, of course, was reading along with those, and I was really excited when I saw that the Shriekers were indeed coming back for this film. Because again, my favorite forms of the Graboids are Shriekers, so I was really, really excited. And when the first set of trailers dropped for this movie, I again was very excited for this film. And when the film dropped on, my wife was pregnant at the time, and we were going through some really bad pregnancy hormones and issues with nausea. So I went to my local Target. Kind of forgot that it came out on DVD, but I see it at the movie section. I'm just like, while I'm getting stuff for my wife to fight her nausea while she's pregnant, I just snatched up Tremors 7, and I brought it home. And a couple days later, I watched it for the first time. And of course, did my review and kicked off one of my favorite eras on my YouTube channel, doing Tremors videos with Trevor Boy. But my initial thoughts of Tremors 7 were pretty negative. As I said in my original review, I liked it a bit more than part 6, but I was still pretty disappointed. In fact, I said a few times that the franchise ends on a whimper. And while I don't necessarily entirely disagree with my original opinion, now that I've seen the film 3 times, I'm now pretty solid on what my thoughts are on this film. And as judged by my ranking of the Tremors franchise video, I no longer consider this my second least favorite. I do like it more than I used to. Now that I've seen it 3 times, it's grown on me a little bit. There's things that this movie does that I think are pretty damn good. But there's just a couple creative decisions made in this movie, with the particular with involving one character, that really hold this movie back for me. Oh, that's great. But still, overall in the franchise, I don't think this is the worst. The fan reception to this movie has been pretty lukewarm at best. I've seen some people say that they thought it was just okay. Um, a lot of people have just said it's more of the same, which for this new era of Tremors, that kind of is true. It is just more of this new era of Tremors, but there's something about this movie that just feels more fun. I don't know what the hell the circumstances were surrounding Tremors: A Cold Day in Hell, but this movie just feels more like what they were going for with part 5. Um, and then I've also seen others say that this is the worst of the franchise. Most notably for me recently being Zoran, the replacement for James on the Dead Meat Kill Count videos when he did his kill count for Tremors Shrieker Island. He said, "This movie has the honor of being my least favorite in the franchise." Yep, that's how much I don't like this movie. Me myself, like I said, it's not as good as part 5. It is my second least, no, it is my third least favorite of the entire series, but I don't dislike it as much as I used to. I enjoy this a lot more. This just feels more fun. It feels more like a proper Tremors movie, and it feels like the filmmakers were giving more of a genuine effort in this movie again. Again, there's some things about it that hold it back, but it's not as bad as I remember it being. So with all that being said, let's get into the plot of Tremors Shrieker Island, shall we? Big game hunter Bill, played by Richard Brake, owner of Avex Biotech, leads a hunting party with his partner Dr. Richards and his best hunter Anna, played by Cassie Clare, where he takes wealthy participants to hunt down graboids on Dark Island, a private area where he operates his company. Pretty much like the most dangerous game, but with graboids. Dr. Jasmine Jazz Welker, played by Caroline Langrish, I think that's how you pronounce it, and colleague Jimmy, played by John Heater, Napoleon Dynamite, work on the research site next to Dark Island where they were experiencing unnatural seismic vibrations. When Jazz sees Bill leaving Dark Island, she, along with Jimmy and their friend Ishimon, sounds like Digimon, Ishimon, digital monsters, Ishimon are the champions, set out to investigate what Bill was up to, and they find a dead graboid. They attempt to flee when they realize it has given birth to Shriekers, but the Shriekers attack and kill Ishimon. Jazz, knowing what graboids are, instructs Jimmy to use coordinates provided by her son Travis, not present in this film for some reason, more on that later, to find Bert Gummer, once again, of course, played by Michael Gross. She visits Bill at his camp and learns Bill genetically bred the graboids on the island and made them more powerful and intelligent for his hunt. He also cut off communications for the weekend so nothing would stop him and his hunting party from having fun. Jimmy finds Bert, who has now lived in isolation 186 days as a survivalist away from the government and content on being retired from anything related to graboids. Jimmy informs him that they need his help and Travis is unavailable due to being arrested in Mexico for smuggling shrooms. Yeah, of course. Real quick, nobody really knows why Jamie Kennedy did not return as Travis for Tremors 7. I've heard conflicting opinions. It's probably a mix of both. I've heard that Jamie Kennedy just didn't want to come back because he doesn't like Universal. I have heard that he was not brought back because Jamie Kennedy is a pain in the ass to deal with on set. Again, it's probably both. I don't know. Probably never will know. Bert reluctantly agrees when Jimmy convinces him it's his destiny, and when he learns Jazz is there, he nearly refuses to help due to their history and keeping Travis's birth a secret from him for so many years. Having cleaned himself up, Bert gets to meet the crew, including Tomboy Freddy, played by Jackie Cruz, who played Flocka in the Netflix series Orange is the New Black, who has a crush on Jimmy, somehow. Bill shows up to intimidate Bert and tell him to back off his hunt, but Bert isn't afraid of him and warns Bill that the graboids are a strong threat no matter what planning is implemented against them. Bert tries to gather weapons only to find out that they have no firearms to defend themselves, only a bunker from World War II, which has machetes, 2 M2 flamethrowers, and dynamite that's highly unstable. On Dark Island, the Shriekers Jazz and Jimmy encountered have begun killing off members of um, Bill's hunting party. Eventually, they find the Shriekers, but they, like their parent Graboid, are also superior to the original Shriekers and can now use their screams as sonic-emitting weapons, allowing them to pick off Bill's crew one by one. They are saved when Bert and the others arrive, killing the Shriekers and one Graboid, leaving two remaining Graboids. Returning to Jazz's research site, they are shocked to learn that one of the Graboids made it to their location, showing signs it is much more powerful than they all realized. It's stated to be 19 meters long, which definitely makes it the largest Graboid of the entire franchise. Bert warns Bill to call off the hunt and turn the communication system back on, but he refuses. Bill shoots Bert with a tranquilizer dart and locks him and the others in the World War II bunker. In Awakening, everyone has been bound with zip ties, and when Jimmy remembers that the boots he loaned to Bert had the laces replaced with 550 paracord, Bert is able to use these as a friction saw to cut through the zip ties, and meanwhile, Bill's hunt continues but goes horribly wrong when the Graboid that made it to the site earlier has shown up and is subsequently dubbed the Queen due to its superiority and large size. Anna quits when Bill's lust for the hunt proves too dangerous and insane and leaves the group. Anna frees Bert and the others from the bunker, but they are attacked by a Graboid before they can leave. They use the dynamite to blow it up, leaving only the Queen left over. Bert locates Bill to reason with him, but is unable to convince him to give up his hunt, and Bill meets his demise when the Queen finds him and devours him. Bert realizes the Queen is killing the weakest off until Bert, who Jimmy points out must be the Alpha, is left remaining. Bert gathers the remaining survivors, and inspired by the way his friends Val and Earl successfully killed off Stumpy in the first Tremors film, they lead the Queen to an inactive volcano dubbed the Devil's Punch Bowl and lure the Queen over a plateau onto a bed of spiked dynamite. Bert and Jimmy kill off the remaining Shriekers while Jazz and the others set up the trap for the Queen. Bert and Jimmy make it to Dark Island and begin killing off the Shriekers with just machetes, one flamethrower, and a chainsaw, which is the most entertaining scene in the movie. They return to the research site but find out the Queen is waiting there for Bert. The team heads to the Devil's Punch Bowl to execute the plan, with Jimmy following behind with Bert. The pair successfully lead the Queen into the trap, but Bert, at the very last second, pushes Jimmy out of the way and lets himself be swallowed by the Queen to ensure her demise. The Queen dies from the dynamite and spikes, but Bert does not survive, much to the sadness of Jazz and the others. In the end, they make a memorial for Bert, leaving behind their weapons and his signature hat and sunglasses. Fuck! That sucks. Hmm. Hmm. That's cute. So what do I think of this story? It's better than part 6. It definitely does live up to what it promises. The last one, the last movie promised graboids in snow and failed miserably. This movie promises graboids in a tropical island and it succeeds wonderfully. They actually did go, unlike they didn't just shoot Africa yet again and say that it's a jungle. Even though, well, no, that still wouldn't work because there's a lot of boats and water in this movie. But still, uh, they didn't go back to Africa to shoot for a jungle. They actually went to Thailand and used that location for this film. It shows, and it shows off the location very well. But like I said, this just feels more like a return to form, like what they were doing for part 5. The chemistry is a lot better. The characters are a lot less annoying. Um, the monster action's a lot better. There's just not, it's not quite as studio mandated, I don't want to do this bullshit that the 6th film has. This just feels more like everybody was having fun again. Like they're like, unlike in part 6, they're like, ugh, I gotta make a damn Tremors movie. This is like, hell yeah, we're making a final Tremors movie. The energy and synergy here is just a lot more appealing and a lot more engaging, and that's fun. I like that. The problem though is that it kills off Bert. Um, but also another problem is that they are once again seemingly just restricted by the budgetary issues that have kind of plagued the whole Tremors franchise, unfortunately. This movie wants to be a bit more epic and grand than it actually is. It tries, but unfortunately, it's either the filmmakers just don't have a whole lot of money to work with, or it's the studio that's just saying we're giving you the barest amount of Tremors as possible just to hang on to the franchise that we stole from its creators. um, so this movie, it's kind of stuck in this really weird gray area. It's trying as hard as it can, but it's just not quite as it's just not quite as awesome as part 5. Um, I don't know. This movie's just stuck in a weird gray area. But with all that being said, let's get into the pros and cons of Tremors Shrieker Island, shall we? Before we begin, a word from our sponsor. Unlike the last review, I have I have 9 pros. Although I just talked about one, which is the good premise. To just wrap up on the good premise, this will be pro number 1 is the good premise. I do like the concept of having graboids and shriekers on a tropical island, because going through the franchise, I can't deny that graboids out in the desert is all fine and well and good. But if there was just 7 movies of graboids just being in the desert, I can't deny that it would have gotten a little stale, like visually. We just would have been seeing the same desert locations. Like after a while, deserts just all look the same. But with these last couple movies, well, last one kind of fails, but the change of scenery and the change of location is a good idea to keep things feeling a bit fresh. And especially with this one, I think it works out pretty damn well. Like having graboids and shriekers on a tropical island, that's a really good concept. How would you find and hide from shriekers? They could be behind any tree, bush, shrub, or they could literally just be hiding in the jungle the entire time and pick off a crew one by one, which they kind of do. How the hell are you gonna find graboids in a jungle? They could be miles underground or 2 feet below the ground, and you wouldn't be able to tell because of the dense jungle. Um, it's a really cool concept, and for the most part, they do a pretty good job at showcasing that. But yeah, I like the premise. I think it's really cool. But pro number 2 is Bert. Thankfully, he's not nearly as angry in this movie as he was in part 6. I'd actually say he's pretty mellow in this movie. He's not really angry. He's stubborn and he's hard-headed, But unlike the last couple movies, which is something about well, it works to the advantage of Tremors 5 because Bert is set in his ways and him having to interact with Travis, who is a very new element in his life that he hasn't known has existed for so long. It works there, but Bert this time around just feels like he's more willing to get along with people um in his company. And here it's actually kind of it's fun. You'd think that he would find a character like Freddie, whom it's stated that I guess she has a crush on Jimmy in this movie, but sometimes it kind of seems like she almost has a crush on Bert. But her chemistry with Bert is very strong. You'd think Bert would find her annoying, being just a fangirl who just thinks that she's a total badass compared to Bert, but Bert actually is impressed by her endeavors. She says, like, I've had a gun in my hand and a knife on my hip since I was 5. I kill everything I eat and I don't mess around, Mr. Gummer. He's like, that's cool. I like you. And their chemistry and synergy is very strong too. Um, Bert also overall is a lot more helpful this time around. He literally is more willing to work well with what he's got, and also he doesn't really conflict with anybody of the protagonist cast. There is a full-on human villain here, and with him he butts heads, though it's for understandable reasons. Here, the camaraderie is a lot stronger. Bert isn't constantly yelling and screaming at everybody in his midst. He's surrounded by people who's willing to help him and work with him and do what he says and, agree with what he's saying. So the camaraderie and the sense of buddy buddy is a lot stronger here than it has been in the last couple movies. Everyone is just working together to solve a problem and save people. There's no conflict, at least amongst each other. There's no bickering. There's no bitterness. Everyone is just working together to solve a problem. And I really like that about this movie. And so, yeah, it makes Bert a lot more likable, and it makes his death a lot more painful when it does happen. But yeah, I love Bert in this movie. Not as good as he is in parts 3 and 5, but Bert is still pretty awesome here. Pro number 3 is Jimmy, played by John Heder. I still have not seen that many movies with John Heder in it. What has he been in? I have seen Napoleon Dynamite, didn't really care for it. I really liked Blades of Glory. I thought that movie was pretty damn funny. And oh wow, there's a Napoleon Dynamite animated show. Oh wow, he was in Monster House? Oh, I think I know who he was. He was Reginald Skalinsky. Damn, he's 44? He's got 4 kids? Holy shit. Oh, he was Chicken Joe in Surf's Up. That's funny. But anyway, him as Jimmy in this movie, I don't know. Well, I mean, obviously, physically and mentality wise, you can kind of tell that they cast him to try to replace Jamie Kennedy. But I actually like Jimmy, honestly, just a little bit more as Bert's sidekick than I do Travis, because he's not he's not an annoying horn dog like Travis is, especially in the last movie. He obviously does stick out like a sore thumb compared to Bert, but uh unlike Travis, who's just kind of a dumbass, he has his skills, but still he is kind of stupid. Jimmy, he is also intelligent, but you can also kind of tell he's a millennial. He's a bit of like a geeky shut-in. Or not really geeky shut-in. He's a lab geek, essentially. But he surprisingly is brave in the face of danger, but also he's willing to work and help with Bert. And his chemistry with Bert is overall pretty damn strong. He doesn't annoy Bert very much. They actually work together as a pretty good team. Bert is willing to work with Jimmy, and Jimmy's willing to work with Bert. And they share some funny banter amongst each other too. Bert says they wanted me to install a septic tank. You know what that means? Sanitation? No, bureaucracy, rules. um, Overall, yeah, I like Jimmy. There's not much to say about him. He's a fun replacement for Jamie Kennedy. And I think John Heder does a really good job. I like his role as Jimmy. This will lead me into pro number 4, the humor. Thankfully, thank fucking God, the piss humor is discarded from the last 2 movies. I mean, it was funny in the first one, but man, did it get old in the last one. First one, fifth one. But it definitely did get old and overstay its welcome in the last movie. Thankfully, there's very little piss humor, or I don't even really think there's any piss humor at all. There's one line that says, there's one line from Bill where he says, if you're going to piss like a puppy, get off the porch, or something along those lines. But I wouldn't really even say that's a piss joke. That's just a funny line from Bill. But yeah, thankfully the piss humor is gone. Here, there's just a lot of witty dialogue and some funny references and just some funny lines. There's another one where um, Bert says, well, the queen must be killing off all the weakest to cull the herd to get to the strongest. And then Jimmy says, oh, crap, that means I'm next. That one was funny. What's another one? I said this before. For some reason, this line cracks me up when you see an obviously dubbed over line when Bert is shaving his head. Just the way he says it, he goes, ow, that's the dome I know and love. I don't know why. That always cracked me up. The funniest line in this movie, right before Jimmy and Bert lure the queen to her death, they're bickering back and forth as to who's going to lead the queen to die. And then Jimmy goes, I'll do it. I'm faster. Bert goes, I'm wiser. Then Jimmy goes, I'm younger. You got me there. Probably the funniest line in this movie. And also, this will lead me into my next pro, is all the film references. They name drop a lot of movies in this film. And none of them feel like they're just ripping off a movie or stealing a quote just to steal a quote, just to try to be funny. I think it is legitimately funny, all the movies that they reference in this movie. This will be pro number 5. All the film references. They name drop Godzilla twice. You better be using something bigger than a 308 on that graboid. That would be like spitting on Godzilla. And Anna says, I just had a run-in with the queen, and she's Godzilla big. Bert refers to Jimmy as Ramboy multiple times, of course. When they're about to fight the Shriekers in the cave, Bert is armed with a flamethrower and 2 machetes, and Jimmy has 1 machete and a chainsaw. So right when they're about to fight, Bert goes, "Hey, you ready, Ramboy? Or you ready to go, Ramboy?" Then Jimmy says, "No, you got the machetes. You go, Rambo. I got the chainsaw. I'll go, Evil Dead." And let's see. And they name drop Predator a couple times. They use their big bony frill on top of their head. They use it like an infrared camera. Oh, like in Predator. No, not like that. It is like that. And the Shrieker infrared vision looks just like how the Jungle Hunter's infrared vision looked in the original Predator. Anything that's cold is blue, and heat is yellow and reddish orange. And they use the same sound effect that the Predator vision had in the original movie. That pulsing sound and that like snapping hiss. It sounds just like Predator. Then, also before they fight the Shriekers, Jimmy starts slathering his arms and face with mud, and Bert goes, "What are you doing?" "Mudding up, just like Arnold did in Predator. Hide my heat signature." And then Bert goes, "It's not a bad idea." And again, that more goes to show that Bert is more willing to. He's not nearly as stubborn in this movie as he was in previous films. Whenever he sees an idea that he thinks is cool, he's like, "Okay, I'm going to do that too." Like he agrees with Freddy wanting to use the unstable dynamite as a graboid trap. And he agrees with Jimmy using mud to mask his heat signature. He's like, "Oh, that's a cool idea." And uh, when right before they fight the Shriekers in the cave, Jimmy says, wait, ear protection." He puts in earplugs, and then Bert puts on earmuffs in order to muffle the Shrieker's sonic scream. Um, so that's really good too. But yeah, all the humor and the movie references in this movie are very welcome, and they're very enjoyable. This movie is definitely the last movie was it was funny, but in like a really stupid way, like almost like you're laughing at the movie for how stupid it is, rather than it, making lines and jokes that actually make you laugh. Here, that's exactly what they're doing. They're writing funny lines to be funny, not just for the sake of being funny. They're funny references, witty banter, and witty dialogue that is legitimately funny. Um, it overall, it's just a lot better. I've been saying that a lot. It's a lot better than the last movie. This movie is better than the last movie. So yeah, if you're a big movie guy, I need to say that a lot too. So yeah. If you're a big movie nut, all the movie references in this movie will be very welcome, in my opinion. Again, they don't feel like they're just referencing something just for the sake of referencing it. They are legitimately funny references, and you can just kind of tell that the filmmakers were once again having fun. They're like, "Oh, hey, just like this in that movie, or just like this in that movie, or just like this character in that movie. I got the chainsaw. I'll go Evil Dead." Pro number 6 is the cinematography in this movie is very pretty. There's a lot more. Thankfully, one thing about this movie too, this movie at times does feel a little cheap. That's just because that Universal is only allowing the filmmakers a set budget to work with, which is just not quite enough to do what the filmmakers want to do on paper. But still, unlike the last movie, which does look like a made-for-TV sci-fi asylum movie, this film does feel like a direct-to-video movie, but it doesn't look nearly as cheap as the last couple films, cinematography-wise. There's a lot of wide open shots. There's a lot of drone shots. There's a lot of good slow-mo. And there's a lot of really good shots of tropical landscapes and like various islands in the ocean. It's very pretty to look at, and all the colors of this movie are a lot prettier too. There's no like, well, when they get to Dark Island, there is like a bluish tint over the screen, but I think that's because it's supposed to be a dark island. So I guess that's effective, but there's no like blue tint to make it look like an Arctic setting. It looks like they shot it in a tropical setting, well, because they did. But yeah, it looks tropical. It looks hot. It looks muggy. It looks humid. It looks like a tropical setting. And there's also a lot of colors in this movie too. When the graboids and shriekers are killed, the orange really sticks out in a good way. There's lots of pretty greens and like bluish green water and blue skies. There's a lot of really pretty colors and a lot of pretty tropical settings showcased in this film. So, um, that's great. Pro number 7, I think. God damn it. Yeah, 7 is the Shriekers. Um, I have one major issue with the Shriekers, but still, the Shriekers are a welcome return. Like I said, when I heard that this was called Tremors Shrieker Island, I was, of course, excited because I was really looking forward to some more Shrieker action. The Shriekers are my favorite, so I wanted more. Now, this movie does and does not deliver on the Shriekers. It does deliver them, though, in a good way of they get a new design. Again, Cinemotion worked on this movie, obviously, because they still reuse the same designs for the graboids from parts 5 and 6. Here, it does work, though. It doesn't stick out nearly as much as like a sore thumb. Though they don't really showcase they only show it in one scene how large the queen is compared to the other graboids. Again, she's stated to be 19 meters long. That's like 60 feet, I believe. And graboids are normally around 30 to 40 feet. So this is a giant graboid, but they don't really showcase that, again, except in one scene. But still, the Shriekers get a new design. Now, unlike what I initially thought they were going to do, just take the Ass Blaster model when I first saw this movie and just shrink it down, get rid of the Ass Blast, and get rid of the wings and call that a Shrieker. They basically take the original Shrieker design and modernize it with elements of the Tremors 5 design for the graboids. Their skin is a lot more scaly and armored looking. They don't their body is a little shorter and it's not nearly as long, but I think they're also just a little bit smaller, but they run a lot faster. They can jump really fast. And they also, of course, have a new sonic scream attack, which is really cool. It only makes sense that they're able to use that as a attack because they're called Shriekers. Well, they're also called Shriekers because they shriek, but it's just really cool that they get to use that as a weapon. And they retain the beaked mouth that the original Shriekers had, which in some ways kind of sticks out like a sore thumb because the new graboids don't have that mouth design. But still, for this new design, I think the Shriekers look really, really cool. It's called Shrieker Island, and you see the Shriekers, and it does deliver on them, but at the same time, it doesn't. But for the most part, the Shriekers are a welcome addition to this film. I like their new design. I like their role in the story. And when they're on screen, the movie is a lot of fun. Um, Pro number 8 is the special effects. Again, Cinemotion returned to do the CGI for this movie, and the CGI looks good. It's pretty good for a direct-to-video movie. The graboids look good, as the last two did. The Shriekers look really good. There's very little practical effects in this movie. There's that one scene where you see a dead graboid that has 3 holes in it. Now that looks fine. It looks slimy and goopy and nasty. You just don't see a whole bunch of it. And there's a couple shots where there's like practical graboid goo that's splashed all over the place when a dead graboid or when a graboid gets killed. And there's a little bit of practical blood that's used when the Shriekers get killed. But this of the entire franchise probably has the least amount of practical effects, which does, but also does not surprise me. But still, when there's not a whole lot of special effects, but the effects that we do see, I think, are pretty damn good. Oh, the explosions also look really good too. It helps that there's a lot of slow-mo that makes the explosions look good. But yeah, overall the effects are good. Not they're not amazing by any means, but for what this movie is doing, the effects are good. And the last pro that I have, pro number 9, is the action scenes. Again, I have one major problem with the action scenes, but what we do have in this movie is still fairly entertaining. Again, there's a lot of good slow-mo shots. When the Shriekers first arrive to start attacking Bill's group, there's a really good hoo-yeah moment when Jimmy and Bert show up and just let loose all this fire to mow down the Shriekers. That's a really good moment. When Jimmy and Bert go into the cave to kill off the Shriekers, that's a lot of fun. Again, lots of really good slow-mo shots and some good hand-to-hand combat scenes with Jimmy and Bert taking them on with machetes and a chainsaw. That's a lot of fun. Killing the third graboid is a fun Tremors planning scene, as I've come to realize this movie loves to make plans. But that's a lot of fun. Feels like a Tremors movie. Yeah, overall, the action scenes, again, what little we kind of do have, are a lot of fun. And they're also a lot more well shot than the last movie was. There's some close-ups and some shaky cam editing, but it's more well shot than the last movie. It doesn't look nearly as cheap. Yeah, overall, the action scenes are a lot of fun. I need to stop saying that. But with all these good things to say about this movie, I have 8 cons for this movie this time around. I think I had 7 last time. And a lot of them do kind of have to do with each other, so this might be kind of quick. Con number 1, all of the kills in this movie suck. The human kills, I mean. When the monsters get killed, it's typical Tremors fashion. Lots of blood, big goopy slimy explosions, and big goopy slimy gunshots and kill shots. That's fine. The human kills in this movie all suck. Every single one sucks dick. Everybody is either pounced on off screen or everybody is yanked and dragged off screen. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Everybody is pulled off screen and we don't see any good carnage candy of people being torn apart. The last movie did that too, but even the last movie had some blood. I may as well talk about this. This will go into another con that I have with this movie. Con number 2 is this is easily, hands down, the tamest Tremors movie of the whole franchise. There's one kill where someone gets pounced on by a shrieker, and there's a little splash of blood on a tree branch, and hey, Jackie Boy's here. And the last of Bill's hunting party to get dragged off by the queen, he's got a little bit of stage blood smeared on the side of his face. Other than that, there's barely any human gore in this movie, and it's really sad. Because as I've stated before, Tremors movies are pretty violent for PG-13 rated movies, and there's a good amount of human gore throughout them. This movie, however, has barely any, and it's really fucking sad. This will lead me into my next con. Bill. Okay, now Richard Brake does a good job playing Bill. He's very charismatic, and Richard Brake is one of those actors that knows how to play really good, slimy, despicable villains. However, though, Richard Brake's performance can't really save his character. Bill is just a typical, I know everything, I'm the greatest hunter in the world, big game slime bag. He plays the character well, but his character is a total dumbass. He is clearly in way over his head, and he only finds that out when it's too late, when he's killed. He absolutely refuses to listen to reason. He refuses to budge. He refuses to cooperate, and he refuses to work with the others. He's just, no one interrupts my hunt. No one interrupts my hunt. I'm going to kill these graboids without any other help, and nobody interrupts my hunt. He's very one note and just a little boring. Like, we never really understand why he wants to kill these graboids. Other than just the fact that I've killed everything around the world, I want to kill the graboid as the ultimate prey. So this is actually kind of a more mixed opinion. Oh, no, I would say it's more negative because at least with Richard Brake giving a bit of an over-the-top performance as this character, you'd think he'd at least get an over-the-top death, but no. He's standing on a bridge, he gets grabbed by a couple grabbers, and then he gets yanked down into a river. No bloody water, there's just a big splash. Very anticlimactic and kind of lame. Richard Brake again gives a good performance, but just overall, Bill's character is just kind of a waste. Con number 4. These next 4 and 5 have to do with each other. The lack of graboid screen time is con number 4. This one's a little tolerable because, hey, Horror Metal is here. This one is a little tolerable because this whole franchise's whole shtick is implying the monster's presence without actually showing it. They show the creatures enough to varying degrees, but like the last movie, the filmmakers feel like they were using that as a crutch, imply the monster's presence rather than full on show them. You see the graboids only in 4 or 5 shots in this entire movie. Hell, I even think that's less than the last movie. And they're really quick too. They just breach the ground and go back underground. It's just kind of lame. And this will lead me into the next one, the lack of the Shriekers. Even though this movie is called Tremors Shrieker Island, not counting the credits or the Bert Gummer montage in the end credits, this movie is an hour and 38 minutes long, and I would say the Shriekers have maybe 4 minutes of screen time in this entire movie. And the graboids have even less. It's maddening. The movie's called Tremors Shrieker Island, and they barely showcase the title monsters. And as a review of this movie, right when it came out on that Tremors Facebook group said, it just kind of feels like the Shriekers just show up to die. Yeah, I kind of have to agree. It's really a shame because the Shriekers have a new badass redesign, but it just feels like the filmmakers were blue balling us by just showing us tiny snippets of the title monster. It's frustrating as hell. The next con is like Tremors 2 and 3 is the lack of guns. I'm pretty sure this is solely a budget problem. The flamethrowers help, and that is something that is cool. We've never seen how flamethrowers would be effective in fighting off graboids and shriekers, and in this movie, they're pretty damn effective. And there's some good slow-mo shots when people fire off their flamethrowers, but and those are cool, but still, why is there so little guns? Like, why can't we have an M60 or an old World War II machine gun be used to kill shriekers and graboids? There's a dude who literally has a minigun right out of Predator. That was probably another reference to Predator 2. And like in Predators, the dude that holds it fires off like 200 rounds, and he only kills maybe 2 shriekers, and that's it. And he's one of the first to be killed off. Lame. But yeah, the lack of guns just drives me crazy. And this in general is an issue that I have with the overall film, is kind of the lack of action. There's a fair amount of small action scenes throughout the film, but well, there's like a couple of good chase scenes, but there's really only when the Shriekers attack Bill's party, when the dude mows them down with a minigun, and when Bert and Jimmy show up and kill one graboid. There's that scene. Then there's the Shrieker massacre in the caves, and then there's the final killing of the queen. That's really about it. There's a severe lack of action in this movie, in my opinion, which kind of almost makes this feel like another episode of a TV series, unfortunately. And the final con with this movie, this is really the worst thing about this entire franchise. The death of Bert Gummer. Apparently, according to Zoran from the Dead Me Kill Counts, they did shoot the ending to have Bert survive. But for whatever reason, they decided to go with the Bert dying ending. Why? I have no clue. Maybe it's just to finally end the franchise, or maybe it's because Universal wants to kill off Michael Gross and then just keep making Tremors movies without him. I don't know. As far as the future is concerned, Michael Gross hasn't really. He's said that if they were to do a Tremors 8, he would return if they were to ask him. But he ultimately said, showbiz is 5% show, 95% biz. So if you want another one, you got to buy the movies. So the franchise's future really is just in this really frustrating, massive gray area. We just don't know if this is the ending of the franchise or if there's more to come. We just don't know. But Bert dying is... Now, I'm not nearly as against it as I used to be. I still hate it, and I think it's the worst scene in the franchise. But it doesn't anger me nearly as much because I guess, like I said in my re-ranking video, it was only a matter of time before before Bert was going to die by a graboid or shrieker. But here, it just comes completely out of nowhere. It just seemed like Jimmy and Bert were just gonna jump out of the graboid's way at the last minute, but then Bert's gonna shove him out of the way and let himself be swallowed by the queen graboid. Fuck you guys. Why? I hate this scene. I just turn off the movie right as that happens because I have no desire to continue, and it just it hurts. Every time I watch that, it hurts a lot. And it sucks. With all that being said, this review I think was a lot better than my first one. Tremors Shrieker Island doesn't really end the franchise in a satisfactory note, especially with the death of Bert Gummer leaving a really sour taste in my mouth. But looking past that and just looking at the movie before it, I think it's fun. It is a step up from the last movie. Um, it's got good effects. It's got some good action scenes. The Shriekers are a welcome return. It does deliver on the premise of graboids and Shriekers on a tropical island. Bert is a lot of fun in this movie, and I just like the synergy that's involved with this one. It just feels like people are having fun again, unlike the last movie, which just felt like a chore. I like Tremors Shrieker Island more than I used to, but I will still be giving this a 7 out of 10. It's kind of a weak 7, but overall, it's a fun flick. I am a Tremors fan, so I have no problem turning this on if I'm in a Tremors mood, but it could have been a little better, but still, not as bad as I remember it being. Post your comments down below and let me know what you think. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. And share this video with your friends. And as always, tomorrow I will see you guys for a brand new review, hopefully. And I will see you guys in the next one.